opposed to the concept of unification. I've talked to a lot of people, and from what I know at this point, I'm opposed. There was a strong case that was made, and I got more information that showed that this was a viable alternative. I might change my mind, but from what I know about it so far, I am not in favor of it, and I know it has torn apart communities, and I don't want to see that happen to us. It is a very long, multi-year process. I think that the elections in November will solve a lot of the problems, because you have a whole new crew of people steering the ship. And so I don't think unification, I'm very, very reluctant to see a council and a city get involved in these kinds of issues that drain our resources that aren't really our purview. And they sidetrack us from getting the real work done of the city. So I don't think it's a good idea. Of course, one always reserves the right to change their mind if new information comes forward, but at this point I'm opposed to it.
Very clearly, unification is not the solution of resolving the issues in the Sweetwater District. All of us here agree with what's been occurring in the Sweetwater District is unacceptable, but unification is not the answer. I submit to you that this was such an important topic and a big difference between myself and my opponent. You can go to jerrybrendan.com, and there's a position paper that clearly articulates my position on unification. I'm very much opposed. Unification is a very complicated process, and the San Diego County Board of Education has legal ramifications that it's responsible to hold. But basically, you can't unify one portion of 5 different elementary districts and put in jeopardy the children of the other 4 elementary districts, even though they may be in different cities. And so, while we would like to see the issues of the concerns of the Sweetwater District corrected, unification is not the tool to do that, and that's a mistake. And my position paper clearly articulates it in detail, so please go to jerrybrendan.com and you will see an explanation on that. Unification is a process that protects the interests of all children in all communities, and quite frankly, the elementary districts don't want to be unified, break up the Sweetwater District because of the strong economic difficulties that would result with their districts. And so you do not even see the elementary districts that are interested in that. We want to solve the issues of the Sweetwater District. Unification is not the answer.
There's a provision in the California Code of Education which provides that city councils, local governments, can by a majority of a vote issue a resolution in support of starting the process of unification. That is the only role that the city has. That is their only liability. The process is long, and what happens if there is a resolution, then it goes to the County Office of Education. They make a finding as to whether or not the process should proceed. If they say no, it stops right there. If they say yes, then it goes through a whole findings of facts, and they have to have 14 elements that are approved and determined about that. Why should we care about unification? It's not a question about whether or not we have a bad high school district and a good elementary school district. That's not the issue. The issue is, how do you provide the best education of the 21st century for our students moving forward? And I will tell you right now what's happening in the elementary and the high school districts. Right now there's a blurring of the lines. You have the elementary school district now that is establishing charter schools that now educate our children from K through 12. You have the high school district that's trying to get a charter school to do preschool through 16. So the lines are being blurred. Why? Because the parents are demanding change in our educational system. And shame on us if we don't have the courage to examine it.
I totally agree. Ethics is very critical. And one thing about being in the political arena, when you run for office, you put your life, your reputation, and all the procedures to be evaluated before the public. And you can see what ethics has done to the Sweetwater District, and that's where we are. Ethics is very critical. My 16 years of the City Council and an additional 4 years of the County Board of Education, I don't think there's anything more more important than ethics of elected officials, and you do need to hold them to the highest standard, and that's very, 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 you know, we talk about, well, what the problem was a reporting process. It isn't a reporting process. You have the ethical decision that if a developer or somebody offers you something, you just say no.
Mr. Redmond, the question, we just want to remind you, because you just have a few seconds left, is an ethical dilemma you faced and how you handled it.
Yeah. I believe I've faced that on a daily basis every time you're an elected official, and you just say no when there's an ethical dilemma that's not in the best interest of the public, because that is your role and responsibility.
Jerry Rendon is absolutely right. As an elected official, you're confronted every day by people or special interests that want their way. And you have to be guided by your moral compass, your internal moral compass, and be very, very sure of yourself, and make the wise decision, and always keeping in mind, who put me here? Who do I serve? And I serve the public. And you must never lose sight that you are a public servant. And I think what happens is that with a lot of elected officials that don't have that strength, that inner strength, that they know who they are, that they're defined by more than their politics, make the right decision. And I think that on this dais right here, and I know Jerry very, very well, and I know Pamela, I can tell you that the three of us here, I think, have the utmost standards and ethics. And I think that the voters really have a good choice between the three of us, whether or not we're going to be ethical or not. I think that we've proven that in our years of public service.
Susan, do you want to be the only candidate to answer the question and describe an example of something that you faced, an ethical dilemma that you faced, and how you handled it?
Okay, I'll be specific and answer that question. A couple of years ago, there was council members wanted to put $600,000 from reserves during budget hearings to a pot of money for ballot initiatives. These were unnamed ballot initiatives that hadn't been discussed or vetted or anything. And at a time when we were cutting $10 million, $15 million from our general fund budget, to put $600,000 in a pot for unnamed ballot initiatives, which turned out to be very political and partisan type ballot measures, I just simply said so. And during open session, I said, this is just unethical. We can't put $600,000 into these unnamed ballot measures just to have the money. The reason that it was being done is that if you put the money during budget cycle, you only need 3 votes. But if it's beyond budget cycle and during the year, like closer to when you might put an initiative on the ballot, then you need 4 votes if the money hasn't been set aside. So this was shenanigan to fund whatever projects might come up, and I was very much against it. I thought it was unethical, and as a result of that, I asked the city attorney to bring us a sunshine policy, which he's working on right now, where we all have to declare who we've talked to, etc., before we vote on projects.
Let me begin my closing comments by thanking Wendy and Crossroads 2 and Star News for hosting this forum, because it's important for you to know the candidates. And quite candidly, I think you've got 3 excellent people who will represent the city well. And I have the perfect solution for you. Select Jerry Riggins. And you get both Mary and Pamela, because they stay on the council, and then we don't have to have a special election. We save the city a lot of money. We can save nearly $500,000 by not having a special election. And we have 3 quality people who are ethical, who have the experience, because, as I said before, and I submit to you, what's really important, this is an election that's going to make a difference. This is an election that you need leadership. You need people who have the experience and the ethics. And the campaign that I've been running on is the experience we need, the leadership we demand, and the integrity that Chula Vista deserves, and I submit that to you. That's very, very critical. It's not just the positions that I've held in the school district, as president of the Chula Vista Chamber of Commerce, representing nearly 800 businesses. It's a difference of providing leadership within that, and that's the level we've got to go to the next level in. So exciting that this is kind of like the early 90s coming together. The economy is better, and we have things to get done, and that's including the Bayfront, and that includes having the university project beginning, and that's the Millennium Project. And my campaign slogan is really very easy to remember. If you want the Bayfront done, and you want to get the project for the university started and done, and you want to get the Millennium Project and bring that revenue done, then vote for Jerry Brinda and get it done.
Well, I don't know how to top that. I'm personally tired of Chula Vista being in a state of feast or famine. Since I was elected in 2008, every year until this year, we have been trimming $10 and $20 million from our budget, which is huge when you have a $170 million budget going down to $120-something million budget, workforce cut by 1/3. These have been very, very tough times. I don't want to see this happen again. We need really good fiscal stewardship. We have a $240 million unfunded pension liability. In addition to the cutting of the budget and flattening the organization, I was part of the council that voted for pension reforms that are fair to employees and taxpayers. We set the example by doing it ourselves first. We started with our own positions. I am an independent voice. I always put Chula Vista first, not what special interests want, but I examine every issue and I vote for what I believe is best for Chula Vista independently. I'm also a problem solver and a doer. I have had 6 years full of having done many things, including working very hard on getting the power plant decommissioned. That was Mayor Cox and myself. Year-long centennial celebration, 2011, for way, way under what San Diego was even contemplating spending. Worked with Mayor Cox very closely to ensure that the Living Coast Discovery Center would continue as a nonprofit to save it from closure by the city. Last year it was a Hilltop Park renovation. This year it's a dog park, the first ever on the west side of Chula Vista that I've been raising funds. We're almost there now. They will be breaking ground this summer. I revived Harbor Fest. Last year we had over 10,000 people enjoying our bayfront. I've helped organize arts events, and so I do things. I lead, I cut budgets, but I also do things for the community.
Thank you very much, and thank you again, all of you, for being here, because this is going to be really a big decision, and it's going to be a new day, and it's going to be a great change in the city of Chula Vista. We need to change the style of the leadership to fit the future that we're going to have here in Chula Vista. We need to have a mayor that has vision, a mayor that can galvanize people, bring people together. And I've done that on the council. Before I got there, it was a very divisive council. I got in and I offered stability to the council. You know, the experience that I have in leadership roles, whether it was being chair of the Veterans Affairs Committee as an assembly person, where I got $12 million funding for veterans' homes, where I passed legislation that expanded opportunities for small businesses to do contracting with the state of California. I have such a deep variety of experience that's really going to be needed as we move to the city of Chula Vista. I think that the kind of experience that I have is not parochial. It's not just centered on Chula Vista, because Chula Vista is going to be a dynamic community, but we are a part of a greater region, and we need somebody that understands that we need to do better about getting the best for Chula Vista. Why should it be that the projects that are funded by Transnet get done in North County? Why should it be that we settled for a power plant with lines in our bayfront where other communities have gotten low-profile lines? I mean, why should we settle for that? I have plans to do that. I have plans to actually introduce legislation that would increase our representation on regional boards. We don't have that kind of representation that we need now. You know what? We have the most largest development project on our bayfront that's going to be determined, and yet we only have one port commissioner. The city of San Diego has 3. Metropolitan Transit District that I serve on, we only have 1 representative. The city of San Diego has 4. La Mesa, tiny little La Mesa, has 1. We need a mayor that's going to fight for those changes to make sure that we can hold up our head proud in Chula Vista and take our place where we need to be. And that's the most progressive, dynamic city. And you need a progressive and dynamic mayor, and I hope that you vote